I think you can make jokes about anything, but you have to accept that there will be people who don't like it. And they are completely within their rights, just as you are completely within your rights to say whatever you want to say. They're within their rights to react how they're going to react.
Translation. So I find it convenient to just play dumb here. I'm going to pretend that I just can't imagine how deliberately attacking, harassing, and punishing people for what they say, an activity which I support 100% by the way, I just can't imagine how that could possibly interfere with freedom of speech. I really don't get that. What can I say? I know from experience that playing dumb keeps me out of trouble. It's part of my survival strategy. I hope that someday I'll actually be as dumb as I act, and I won't have to fake it anymore. What good is a brain anyways if it always gets you in trouble? I would feel a lot better if I couldn't see the obvious conflict between the right to free speech and the right to censorship. Maybe I wouldn't have to feel so slimy.
So you can't be surprised or insulted if someone doesn't like a thing you said that is that you're making jokes on a controversial topic.
Translation? Forget what I just said about playing dumb. You comedians out there need to stop playing dumb. When someone tries to personally attack you and destroy you, you should never act all surprised. It's your responsibility to know in advance what you are not allowed to say. And if you do say something that offends the wrong people, then you do deserve whatever happens to you. You have no right to complain. I'm here to tell you that comedy is changing, and the new comedians should be perfectly comfortable with walking on eggshells and being spineless enough to do everything that they could possibly do to avoid being attacked. Don't ask why, just accept it. And don't get yourself in trouble. Remember, as a comedian, it's always your fault if you're attacked. But you will be safe if you follow my advice. Just keep your comedy safe and tame like mine, and the mob will never come after you.
I think there's a lot of people who court that, and they want that because it's attention. It gets more eyeballs on them and what they're doing. But there's some people who do feign outrage at this, or they're genuinely feeling like, how dare you tell me what I can and cannot joke about.
Translation? When censorious mobs of activists get mad at comedians, that's genuine outrage. But when everyone else gets mad at those activists, then that's obviously fake outrage. How do I know that? Because I really can't see anything good in other comedians. I truly hate comedians. I want them to change, but I would also be just as happy if they all die. I don't have any sympathy for comedians who are targeted and attacked because they must have wanted to be attacked, and they must have asked for it somehow. They just want attention, so any complaints that they might have are just totally invalid.
But I would say in most cases, audiences are not telling them, you can't joke about this. What they are saying is, that wasn't funny. And that's a different thing. I think you can talk about any topic, and I think you can make any topic funny. It depends on what your point is and where you're coming from. Audiences always know. They always know.
Translation. Once again, I've decided to play dumb and change the subject. Instead of talking about organized protests, smear campaigns, and attempts to deplatform a comedian, perpetrated by a small but vocal and highly organized minority of activists, I'll just talk about an audience in general failing to laugh at a particular joke. As if that's what this is all really about. Nothing to see here, folks. I can't imagine what could possibly have these grotesque, narcissistic, disgusting comedians all bent out of shape. It's not just those activists who hate comedians. It's the entire audience. It's the entire world. And I think that the people have a right to think that you told an unfunny joke.
And if you have a sound point that you're making, and it's well thought out, and it's well crafted, you can make me laugh at a thing that I think is tragic. You can make me laugh at a thing that I think is horrific. You can make me laugh at a thing that affects me personally. But if you've done your homework and you've gone about it the right way, it will still be funny. But it's when people do, I think, a lazy job at something. they're not trying as hard as they could, or they really are just courting outrage. That's when audiences say, that wasn't funny. But I think it's so rare that anyone says you're not allowed to joke about that.
Translation. Have I convinced you yet that I believe that this is really all about audiences failing to laugh at jokes? I want to see how long I can keep this up. By the way, I might be a dull third-rate comedian, but I still feel qualified to give advice to much funnier comedians than I on how to do their job. The way I see it, the future role of comedy will be to flatter powerful people and suck up to them. The future role of a comedian will be to provide mindless distraction, manipulation, and pandering. Promoting truth and deep insight is really old-fashioned. Comedy needs to get with the program.
Tastes change over the years. And so topics that were routinely joked about years ago that might affect certain people, maybe it's something that happened to someone, and we throw a word around because it's a shocking punchline and it's good for a laugh. But is it worth it? And over time, people who are tired of being ashamed because a thing happened to them, they vote with their silence, or they say, that's not funny.
Translation. Aside from playing dumb, I also like to speak in extremely vague general terms so that nobody can really pin down what I'm saying. This is why I need a translator. That's another survival tip for you, by the way. Keep everything vague and general if you want to live. Confusion is your friend. And can you believe that other comedians are just upset about not being funny? How stupid is that? Comedians these days are so privileged that they feel like they're entitled to force people to laugh. That's just crazy.
And I think that comedians have to recognize that humor evolves and times change, and you can't stay stuck in the same place for too long because then you're irrelevant. And so it's very easy to say, oh, people are too uptight now. They're too uptight. But the fact of the matter is, these people are the people of today. And you might be a person of yesterday if you can't adjust and you can't be in tune with what people think is funny anymore.
Translation. I don't really have much to say about this topic, so I'm just going to repeat the same points over and over again, ad nauseum. Maybe if I keep repeating them, they'll start to sound true. My most important point bears repeating, though. It's never a tiny little tyrannical mob of freaks who needs to be appeased. It's the people. Those hypersensitive, histrionic freaks are actually the voice of the people. Don't try to resist them or change them. Just adapt to their demands and learn to obey them.
I don't think I've ever said anything where an audience turned on me in that way. I've said things that now I wish I hadn't said because times have changed. And like the me of 15, 20 years ago made a joke that I wouldn't make today because I look at the world differently now, you know? And because the world is different now.
Translation. Over the years, not only has my speech become much more compliant, but so have my thoughts. I don't even have impure or insensitive or honest thoughts anymore.
And, you know, it's all part of a maturation process, I think, for everybody. And I'm of the school that says adapt or die, you know. And so if this is not a thing that we joke about anymore, I'm going to find something else to joke about, or I'm going to be better at handling these subjects so that people know what my intent is. And my intent is not to mock the victim here. It's not to mock the little person. I'm ridiculing something that is worthy of ridicule.
Translation. I choose my targets very carefully. I am such a coward. I am really just afraid of dying. Please do not attack me. Just leave me alone. I'll do anything you want me to do. I'll be as bland and fatuous as I need to be. I want everyone to know that I have no intention of ever thinking about speaking truth to power.